welcome back. My name is Gabrielle and my microphone is plugged in this time. I didn't realize it, but my last video, my microphone was not plugged in. And I was, watching it back and the audio was bothering me, and then I didn't realize until I set up again after that video. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hopefully I sound a lot better and not so fucking low. But today we are here. I want to do new makeup releases. It's been a long time since I've done it, obviously, and there's a lot to go over, but I feel like not much has really interested me personally. Like, maybe a couple of things, but lately it's just been kind of bland, which we will get into. I think this video will go up first, so I'm going to announce that I'm going to be introducing vlogs for this channel. It's different from your average vlog, I would say, because maybe average vlogs are like this too, I'm not really sure, but my version of a vlog, I think I'm going to call the series Not Another Vlog, because it's really just going to be like me talking about my day and what's been going on with me. Kind of share a little more about myself, not too much, not overshare, but I actually just finished recording one. I don't know really how my style is going to be, like what day I'm going to start, what day I'm going to end, and things like that. This is all still very new to me, so I hope you guys will enjoy. It's not necessarily me, recording on my friends and being like, hey, and everything like that, or recording myself in public. I mentioned on the vlog that I'm just not comfortable doing that, so I mentioned that today we saw the Super Mario movie, which is why I'm wearing this makeup look. I was wearing something else, but I changed into a t-shirt because I wanted to take off my bra. That's simply why. And if you want to know my review on the movie, then watch the vlog. Let's just get into these new makeup releases. There's a lot to go over. We'll see what I can do. The Lord's holiday is approaching us, 420. So we have, of course, Melt's annual 420 collection. This is, I believe, their 4th collection now. They've been doing this for 4 years in a row. This is their Electrip collection. There's an eyeshadow palette, looks like some glitter gel of some sort, 3 lip products, liquid lipsticks or lip glosses, and a pouch. That is a pouch. This doesn't interest me, not just because I'm not much of a smoker. Like, I'm not against it, but I just don't do it, I haven't been high in quite some time, and the last time I took an edible. It was actually an edible that my brother made, and it was really strong. I felt it through my toes, honestly. It was really strong. And Danny started messing with me and playing trippy music videos. This collection, it's fine. Like, it's a little more color than Melt has been giving us recently. Like, I feel like their releases for the past 2 years have kind of done nothing for me, Gemini 2 almost got me. And I do think Gemini 2 is pretty. When I look at it, I do think, okay, yeah, that's a pretty palette, and should I get it? But I just don't. I don't even know if it's still available, but like, I just don't get it. I just don't purchase it, I should say. And I feel fine. Like, I know I want a palette when I go through my collection and I'm picking out an eyeshadow palette to use, and I go, you know what? Now would be a good time to use X palette. And that shows that I really want a palette. But I don't feel that with like Gemini 2 or anything. And this, I understand, it kind of seems like 70s inspired, but it's just fine to me. I definitely do not need this. And it kind of is just nothing to me. Like, I don't know, man. Melt used to be such an innovative brand. They had the coolest color stories, the coolest colors of lipsticks, dry ass formula, but they had, like really interesting colors that no other brand was doing. And now, like, they're Zodiac collection, can we talk about that? That was atrocious. I'm so sorry, but I was just like, what the fuck? Where are we going here? Where are we going here, Loda? I personally just feel nothing towards astrology in general. If you care, I'm a Leo. Those color stories were just so uninspired. And even with me being a Leo, that's a fire sign. So I looked at the fire sign palette. You know, whenever there's something done based on my sign, I look at it, I humor it in that way, but it was just like, okay. Not something that I need. That was just for me when I was really like, they're going down. They're going downhill. Not that they're going out of business or anything like that. I don't necessarily want that for them, but it's just, I mean, and the lip colors, they're funky lip colors that I'm just not really wearing these days. I mean, back in the day, I used to like, you know, wear blue lipstick sometimes, but like, I just don't anymore. I'm not necessarily scared to do it. I just don't. You know, my tastes have just simply changed. I feel nothing towards this, and I guess we'll just see for next year. God, can't really imagine a fifth 420 collection, but you know what's gonna happen. Glaminatrix is launching a new eyeshadow palette called Into the Night. Glaminatrix has kind of been on a bit of a roll with their releases and their palettes lately. I feel like they've been releasing a lot of palettes with like the Glamorous palette, I think it was called, and then the Nearly Natural and stuff like that. And their palettes are not cheap, especially with them coming from Australia, where you're paying about $20 in shipping. This palette, it's 85 Australian dollars, 57 US dollars, so it's pretty much like the price of a melt palette, you know, and that is a little pricey. And I feel like I want to get into their palettes, you know, because I do think that they're unique and colorful. But I'm kind of just not. Like, I'm definitely not tempted to buy this one. I was kind of tempted to buy the Nearly Natural, and maybe, you know, I would enjoy that palette and use it. But here is my gripe with palettes. As of the past year to 2 years, every single palette, not every single palette, but almost every single palette in the past year or two has a fucking purple, and that bothers me. As someone who does not use the color purple and likes very specific tones of purple, there's a purple in every fucking palette, and it bothers me. I'm just like, bro, you sometimes the purples are oddly placed. I think like Lethal Cosmetics just released an eyeshadow palette, and it was like blue, green, and then there was one purple, just one random purple, and I'm like, you didn't need this. It literally makes no sense here to me. I don't know, maybe I'm not creative enough to think of how to use it with my look, but like, I'm just like, no. I think that the tones of the purples in Nearly Natural are a little more my style. I feel like I like them better with red undertones, you know, when they kind of just look like a very deep red. But you know, I never wear purple. That has made not buying many eyeshadow palettes lately very easy. I'm trying to be pickier about it. I'm trying to tell myself, would you use every shade? And if the answer is no, don't buy it. And it's just been very easy for me. Like, if I really love a color story and maybe I want to use a couple shades, then fine, I'll let myself at it. Like Fantasy Cosmetica, I really want to try their brand, but again, I was just like overanalyzing their palettes, like, would I use this color, would I use this color? But their latest release, it's pretty. I do think it's very pretty, and I think maybe a couple of the shades wouldn't get much use, but I think everything else is kind of unique enough to where I'm like, I can see myself using that. I just haven't jumped the gun on it or anything, but I just can't. Like, with this palette, I do like the grunginess aspects of it, though it can kind of look like a hodgepodge of colors at times. Like, I have You Beauty. It's actually on my desk. And while this is a pretty color story, and while I think the formulas of the shadows are good and everything like that, it's a hodgepodge of colors. It's just random colors in the palette to me. Is it random colors in the palette, or is it a color story? And I feel like, you know, these are really pretty colors. When I look at this palette, I kind of struggle with creating a look and thinking of a look. Maybe I'm not the most creative person in the world, but like, I just kind of have a hard time when I look at it. like, okay, I could use maybe the blues, maybe I could use like these two kind of dusty purples, right? Maybe I could use the red and deepen it with the brown, but like I usually just use this palette for like a color. You know, I used it today for the red on my lower lash line. I don't know, man. I feel like that's kind of been my thing with Glaminatrix palettes lately. It's just like, oh, sure, they're interesting, but I think they're just not really hitting it home for me, and that's okay. That is okay, but you know, I'm still on the lookout for them, of course. Maybe they'll come out with something that's more up my alley. I kind of just feel like I like what I like. I tend to kind of use the same things. So it's like, how much variety do I really want? You know, like, of course, it's useful to have different colors and different variations and different formulas and textures. But how often do you use it? Yeah, that's just pretty much my thing on this palette. Which, speaking of kind of liking what I like, Glam Shop is releasing a palette called the Nice Herb eyeshadow palette. This is pretty. I think this is really pretty and it's very tempting. This is just like a very grungy green yellow color story, and it has like a little interesting mix of some grays in it, and I actually do love gray eyeshadow. I think this is pretty. I don't know if I'm gonna get it per se. A reason for that is because, like, again, when you like what you like, you don't want to get too many repeats of just like, oh, well, I have this already, right? So let me just use what I have. And I'm definitely trying to be better about using what I have. So, I mean, it's been easier when you don't buy anything, but I do think this is pretty. But of course, I think things with mustards and like greens are pretty. You know, it's hard for me to convince myself like you don't need this. Yves Saint Laurent is coming out with liquid highlighters, and this is a part of their new line, their NU line, where their products are a little more affordable. Like, I actually have one of the new blushes. I think it's called New Pinch, and it's a very interesting texture. It's very stiff. I think it's pretty, but it's just like when you squeeze it out, it's a little stiff, and it's just like kind of fascinating for like a liquid blush. And so these highlighters have like similar packaging, and I'm kind of wondering if it'll be similar to that. Imagine having a stiff highlighter and like trying to blend it into your skin. Maybe they're more liquidy, but there seems to be 3 shades: New Gold, New Rosy Quartz, and New Bronze, and they're gonna be $28. So it's definitely not like a drugstore kind of thing, but it's less money than like their normal line. I feel like New is supposed to be like a little more budget friendly, I guess. I love liquid highlighter. Like, I feel like powder highlighter just doesn't hit the same for me anymore when I discovered liquid. And that's kind of the story that goes on with people, is like once they discover cream highlighter, liquid highlighter, like Makeup by Mario, he doesn't like powder highlighter. He's like, you just can't get the same effect. Like, you just can't. And it's true. In my experience, it's true. Like, liquid highlighters are just like so shiny and so wet looking and kind of natural if you want it to be natural. Where powder highlighters, you can get a more natural glow with them, but sometimes I feel like I put on a highlighter and it takes down my natural shine that I want to show. So I feel like we're seeing more liquid highlighters. It's not like bombarding the market, but we're starting to see more of them. And so something like this, you know, is tempting, but I probably won't be getting this. I'm just curious about the texture. I'm so curious about the texture. Wait, Tarte has been in their duping era lately. They're coming out with Blush Tape, which is a liquid blush. Does this already exist? Or is this new to their like tape line? They have like Sculpt tape and stuff like that. And basically these products are very obviously trying to dupe Charlotte Tilbury's highlighters, blushes, and her contour ones. The thing about duping a more expensive brand or a more luxurious brand, it doesn't make sense to dupe them when your product is $3 cheaper. Your products are basically the same price, so what exactly are you offering here besides just copying? I mean, duping is copying, but usually there's a point to it of like, oh, the brand we're copying isn't cruelty free and we are, or the brand we're copying is really expensive and we're drugstore. And Tarte is higher end, kind of expensive. Like Shape Tape is like, I want to say $27, but honestly it might be more than that at this point. Like Shape Tape is not the cheapest concealer and it's not good. They're adding, you know, to their tape line. I don't know, like I guess. I also kind of wonder if Tarte was doing this because they are they struggling? Because their palettes are so uninteresting. Their bronzers have pretty bad shade ranges. Like I've heard great things about their Seashells bronzer. I don't know if that's the shade name or if that's what the bronzers are called, but they're blue, but they have like 2 shades. I guess that is another thing too about duping a product is, oh, the person we're copying has a pretty terrible shade range and we're actually catering to skin tones. But we know Tarte, right? We know Tarte likes to do bad shade ranges just for shits, you know, shits and giggles. And so, I mean, maybe they've gotten better. I really haven't kept my eye on Tarte because I just don't. I'm not a Tarte. I'm not tripping with Tarte. I mean, fine. Like, usually there's more of a point of duping a product. It is copying. Yes, it is copying at the end of the day, but there's usually a point. Like e.l.f., we all know e.l.f. is just dupe lately. But, you know, we all know that e.l.f. is really affordable, so it's interesting. Also, the thing that bothers me, I've already spoken about how I don't like the packaging with this poof at the end. I think it's a pretty bad delivery system. But the way that they have blush tape across the packaging just looks like a kid did that. It looks like a kid went to some editing software and just was like, yeah, and was just like messing around with it and was just like, here you go. And their mom was like, oh, good job, honey. And you know, like, it's just not aesthetically pleasing at all, and the font is so bland. Like, this is a little better. It has a little more oomph to it and it's a little fancier, I should say, but it's a hard one though. Okay, Sugar Drizzle is coming out with an eyeshadow palette. I believe this is new. This is called Don't Forget to Smile, and Sugar Drizzle is kind of known for their all shimmer palettes, which I have been interested in their palettes for a while. I feel like if I were to get the palette, I would actually get their pickle palette, or should I say, fuck, it was a really long name. It was like, I don't even remember the full name. I really don't. Just like, I'm done dealing with you bitches or something like that. I don't like pickles either. I don't like pickles, but I thought about getting the pickle palette because I like the colors in there, but I just ultimately didn't get it. And you know, I'm curious into trying their shimmers, even though they do leak. I know leaking is not the end of the world, but it is just a little concern that I have. With all shimmer palettes, I want to treat them as like, I'm getting all these new singles in my collection. Do I want all of these? Do I only want a couple? And the ones that do call out to me, are they the same multi-chromes that indie brands have been doing it over and over? So this is a brand that's been on my list for a while now, but I just haven't jumped the gun. And this palette, are there swatches? I don't see any swatches in this post. There's purples. There's purples, there's greens, blues, pinks. I haven't worn pink eyeshadow as much lately. I do like pink eyeshadow, and I feel like when I wear it, I do like how feminine I look, and I think it makes me feel kind of pretty, especially with red lipstick. Like, I love pairing that combo together around like Valentine's Day and stuff. I don't really reach for a pink shimmer quite often. And this is $36 for 12 pan duochrome shimmer palette, which in my opinion is a good price. I think that's a good price if they're all really sparkly and duochromatic and things like that. So I also consider that like getting 12 singles for $36. I think that's a really good price. You know, it's here. I don't think I'll be getting it, but it's here. Pat McGrath is coming out with a mini eyeshadow palette. So she's done this before, right? She's come out with really teeny tiny palettes. And when I say tiny, I imagine it like this. I've seen her tiny palettes before and they really are like really fucking small. And this is Sublime Smoke is the name of the palette. And I believe these are all existing shades across her palettes. They're just all condensed into this small color story, and it's $29. And that price point, It's hard. I do think that it's expensive for a 6 pan, and I do think it's expensive for a teeny tiny palette. I understand if this is her attempt to be more accessible, but I'm also kind of wondering what the quality of the shimmers are like. You know, people love Pat McGrath for her shimmers, and so I wonder if these shimmers are gonna lack in quality or actually be like a taste of what she has to offer. If it was up to me, I would have these shimmers be like special, you know, and have this be like, this is how I do my shimmers. What I want her to do is come out with a palette of nothing but special shades, because I think that would just be a good idea. In my opinion, I have a Pat McGrath palette now. In my opinion, if you have indie shadows, you don't need Pat McGrath special shades, because they're the same. They're about the same quality, which does mean it is good quality, but it didn't feel different to me. You know, I just was like, oh, this is familiar. That was really it. You know, it didn't really add anything new to my life. If you want to try Pat McGrath out, I would hope that these shimmers offer a little more like pizzazz. I would rather she come out with like a quad of special shades, or maybe like a tiny 6 pan or something. Just something where I don't have to worry about getting standard shimmers, because I really don't use standard shimmers. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. Her mattes are okay. Like, they're not the best mattes I've ever used, and so this palette, I believe it's 3 mattes and 3 shimmers, so yeah. It'll be available during the Sephora sale too. Like, it'll be coming out right when the Sephora sale hits, so you could save money on this palette and possibly try her out for a pretty cheap price. Cheap in her world. MAC is coming out with a collection of eyeshadow palettes. There's a lot here, and they're kind of pricey. There's the Connect and Color eyeshadow palettes for $34, which I believe are the 6-pan palettes. There's another palette or palettes also called Connect and Color, so I'm kind of confused there. But those are $54. Those are the bigger ones, and I do feel like that is a little pricey. And MAC hasn't really come out with eyeshadow palettes like this, so it's kind of interesting to see them release a lot at once. I used to own MAC eyeshadows. You know, I used to own MAC singles, and I thought that I was cool. I really enjoyed having MAC singles, but I just stopped using them after a while. I don't think they were necessarily bad, but at the time, I feel like everybody had, like, you know, MAC singles. And I feel like everybody just moved away from them. You know, nobody even reminisces about them the same way they do about, like, Makeup Geek or something. I'd kind of be curious to try their formula again. I mean, I remember when they released their Harvest something eyeshadow palette. It was like this really beautiful palette with really beautiful packaging and everything. And I kind of heard that it was not that good, you know, which MAC shimmers are not very exciting at all. And I kind of remember using their yellow eyeshadow, and it took a long time to build it up. So, you know, MAC eyeshadows are probably not the best quality, but I hate that I have a soft spot for MAC. I do. Like, they were like the first high-end brand I ever bought, and I took a picture of the bag and I put it on my Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited, I can't believe it. I had bought like maybe 2 lipsticks or something like that, and a lip gloss, the ever so sticky lip gloss. Yeah, I mean, the packaging of these is pretty cool though. Are they plastic? They kind of just look like plastic packaging. This caption literally says, what do you think about the packaging? It's fine. I think it's pretty. The imagery is very pretty. Okay, so Blend Bunny is coming out with a blush palette as well as tinted lip oils. Bring the Juice tinted lip oils. They're also coming out with a blush palette called Juicy Cheeks. I just want that first blush on the top row. That's the only color I'm interested in, and they probably, do they sell these as singles? Because I would get it. Blend Bunny is one of those brands that everybody is creaming over, right? Everybody's like, oh my fucking god, and they want everything, and they keep buying their releases and stuff like that, and they're like, this is the best matte formula I've ever used. This is the best matte formula I've ever used. And I've heard more than one person say that. So, you know, it makes me curious to try the brand out, right? Like, oh, let's see what this is. But their color stories just haven't really done it for me, you know? Like, their rainbow palettes, or they're too big, or their dollhouse palette was just kind of a weird mixture of colors in my opinion. The only palette that I was like, oh okay, sure, was the All Dolled Up, but I was able to talk myself out of that one. And so they're a brand where I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for them to do a release where I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's it, you know? That's it! And this blush palette, they're purple. There's purple blushes, which I don't like purple blush either. I'm not scared of it, I just don't really care for cool tone blush like that. I almost wanted to buy their brushes just so that I could try the brand out, but I was just like, no, don't do that. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, they're coming out with 2 blush palettes, because I was looking at this caption and I was like, wait, what is this? There's another blush palette called Bare Cheeks. That one is more neutral. Okay, I feel like these, it's definitely a different vibe. It's still not for me, but cool. Cool, I guess. So yeah, they're coming out with a couple of blush palettes, and their tinted lip oils, like, fine, cool. I feel like lip oils are just really thin lip glosses, or sometimes they are just a lip gloss, but they're like advertised as lip oil. Like, I don't know. Sometimes lip oils are not as shiny as I want them to be. But this is interesting colors, I guess. Let's talk about Tom Ford. So Tom Ford came out with a collection called the Soleil collection, where there's 2 quads, a highlighter. I believe there's a highlighter and a lip balm. Not even a lipstick, a lip balm. That's probably like 40 bucks. Tom Ford quads, I can't. Like, I swatched one in store because I went to the Sephora on Michigan Avenue and they have Tom Ford in store, so I swatched it. And the shimmer I swatched, I can't remember which quad it was, but it was actually pretty. It was actually kind of twinkly and nice, and I was like, oh, okay, sure. And again, if Tom Ford could release a quad of just beautiful magical shimmers, maybe I would be like, you know what, yeah, that's special, I like that. I can't see him doing multi-chromes. Like, I just can't. Something about his brand and his vibe, just, I can't picture him doing multi-chromes. These quads, I mean, they're pretty basic, right? They're just not really anything new or exciting to anybody's lives. And why do luxury brands insist on the tip? Why do they insist on the little sponge tip applicator? Sorry, I'm feeling a little tired. You know, it's okay. Like, the highlighter actually looks kind of deep. I think that's the only shade. A lip balm is kind of a boring thing to put in a collection, don't you think? I don't know, it's just like, you could get a lip balm anywhere. Yeah, Tom Ford quads, there are a couple that do appeal to me, and what I want to do is I wanted to go to the, what is that store called? It's called the CCO, and it stands for like Company Cosmetics Store or something like that. Store does not start with an O. I'll try to put the name on the screen, but yeah, I want to go there because, you know, it's just makeup discounted, like really expensive makeup too. You could get something like Tom Ford over there, and I would like to take a trip there one day. There's not one in Chicago or in my town, but there might be one like in Aurora or something like that. It's a drive, but I want to go. I want to go. I want to see, you know. So yeah, there's Thomas. Okay, so Fleur, the perfume brand, is coming out with a new scent called Solar Power. It is a fresh solar scent opening with a sparkling burst of bold citrusy bergamot and red mandarin. Solar Power is illuminated by a warm solar floral accord of neroli, jasmine, and orange flower wrapped in a comforting blend of musk, driftwood, and sea salt. So, sure. $96 for 1.7 ounce. Everybody was talking about Fleur Missing Person, and the story behind Missing Person, if I recall correctly, is that it's supposed to smell like someone. Like, it's kind of supposed to smell like someone you miss, right? And it's supposed to kind of give you memories and stuff like that. So I wanted to smell it at Sephora, and I went to the Sephora. I sprayed it. I smelled nothing. I literally smelled nothing, like not even like a skin scent or anything like that. I was just like, where's the fragrance? Hello, like nothing's hitting my nose, you know? And so that's kind of made me side-eye flirt. I don't want to say side-eye, but like not interested, because I'm like, are your fragrances light? So light that I can't smell them, you know, or something like that. I also kind of feel the same way about Juliet Has a Good Another perfume. It kind of just gives me nothing, you know. To a lot of people it smells really fresh and it smells clean, something like that. And maybe I just find clean scents like that kind of boring, and like this doesn't really smell like anything to me. So yeah, maybe I'm just not a fan of these kinds of scents. I want something more pronounced. It doesn't have to be offensive, but just more pronounced. This sounds like a nice blend though for a springtime perfume and stuff like that, and I'd be interested in trying it, especially with the sea salt note. You know, I'm not like, if it's heavy on the florals I probably won't like it, but I'd be willing to smell something that's like citrusy and has sea salt in it. Speaking of dupes, e.l.f. is coming out with Halo Glow Beauty Wands. So they duped Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless Filter, we all know this, and now they're duping her contour wands for $9. And the thing is Charlotte Tilbury's contour wands has a pretty trash shade range. There's like 2 of them, and e.l.f. is coming out with 5. They're coming out with 5 shades, and they actually seem like it's a pretty good range, you know? So that's what I was talking about. You know, sometimes the thing that they're duping has a pretty bad shade range and they're going to cater more. They're also coming out with highlights, Halo Glow highlights. So are they in the little poof? I think they are, like in the little poof, as well as blushes. And all of these are $9. So, I mean, I'd be interested. Again, even though I have my qualms with the packaging, I would expect it more out of a $9 product, you know? And it would be pretty amazing if they nailed the formula, because the Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand, it's beautiful. I'm actually wearing it today. Like, I've been wearing my makeup for a few hours now, because I went out, like I said. It's just, like, lovely. So lovely. So it would be pretty cool to see e.l.f. do this formula for $9. Let's go back to MAC. RIP back to MAC, by the way. They're coming out with Studio Fix Pro Set and Blur Weightless Loose Powders. There's not much to say about a new loose powder, but like, why do these look good? What is it about these that are drawing me in? Like, why do they think that they look good? I guess because their Studio Fix line is pretty good. I mean, their pressed powder, right? Like their, what's it called? Is it called like mineral powder or something like that? But you know what I'm talking about. That powder is super beloved. I don't know, I feel like a loose powder would just work. Even though like it's loose powder is kind of boring to purchase and stuff, I'd be willing to try this. You know, something about it. How much is it? $36. I mean, I think Fenty like also around that price, so maybe it's not too outrageous. It claims to be a lightweight, ultra-refined powder that sets makeup, instantly absorbs oil, and controls shine, blurs and smooths the looks of blemishes, 8 hours color true wear, doesn't settle, cake, or crease, perspiration and humidity resistant, and does not cause acne. You know, I have a hard time believing that a powder doesn't crease, because I am a person and have a face and my face moves and my face, you know, lives and stuff like that, so things settle into my lines. I'm 25 years old, I'm young, but I do have like just a couple lines around my eyes, and products still, you know, settle into those lines. So I can only imagine when I get older and have more wrinkles that products will just always settle, you know, no matter what. And maybe products will get better by the time I have more wrinkles, you know? I just want to say, there's a trend on TikTok that we're all aware of plastic surgery being a fad, right? People basically just chasing youth. People that are my age, or maybe a little older, maybe even younger, are like, oh no, I can't age. I cannot possibly age, right? And that just always bothered me, because there's such a stigma around aging, especially for women. Aging is not bad. Not every older person is wise, and I will die on that hill. Not every older person is wise, but you know, I would hope that when I'm older, I am wise, and that I've gone through a lot of life. I mean, I already feel like I've gone through a lot of life, but you know, I will go through even more. I can only phrase it the way Kelly Gooch said it. Aging is better than the alternative. That's all I needed to hear. I mean, not that I was ever considering plastic surgery. It's not something I'm into. If other people do it, you know, it's fine. It's just the fact that people don't want to age that badly, you know, and how aging is so stigmatized for women. But at the end of the day, you do what you want with your body. I don't know, I'm kind of like on a weird line here, but I don't want to tell anyone what to do. All I needed to hear is just aging is better than the alternative. You know, I don't want to die young so that I can die pretty. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, MAC loose powder. Studio Fix loose powder, let's go. I think I'm just going to talk about a couple more things. Nomad Cosmetics released a new eyeshadow palette called Royal Europe. $57, but $57 because I think this is expensive for them, I'm not sure. But they have multi-chromes in their palettes on the bottom row. And here's the thing, this palette does nothing for me. It just does nothing for me. I think these tones are a little just not my thing. Even the greens in here, I'm like, I don't know if I'm crazy for these kinds of greens. The multi-chromes are just very standard multi-chromes that we've seen before over and over again. Doing a palette inspired by Royal Europe and inspired by like the monarchy and stuff like that is odd to me. Like, I don't like Queen Elizabeth. I don't like the royal family. And I don't necessarily think that's a hot take. I don't care for the theming of this palette personally. Nomad's palettes have always just felt like a hodgepodge of colors. You know, they always felt a little jumbled to me. And their whole thing is like location. Like, oh, I'm gonna do a palette based on this location I've been to. But these are just two white people making a palette about a place that they're not from and profiting off of it. And like not even donating money or having any of the proceeds go to a foundation in those countries or something like that, or maybe collaborating with somebody from that place. You know, this is strictly just them being like, oh, this is Puerto Rico, this is China, right? And here and here, let's make money from this. And you know, it's just a little odd to me. And I've talked about this before. I will say their Hudson Valley palette, I believe it was called, was fucking beautiful. And I wanted to cave so badly, you know, and I would have felt better buying that palette because it's just based on a place in America, New York. It was so pretty. I feel like it's gone. I feel like they might have discontinued it already because I didn't see it on their website, but that palette, that was a pretty perfect palette. I'm not gonna lie. And there were a couple of purples, but they were the purples that I could see myself using. You know, they had a little bit of red in them. But this palette is not for me, you know. I don't even consider these jewel tones because, you know, this is inspired by jewels and these are supposed to be jewel tones, but I just don't see it really. That's just how I feel on that. So this is sort of a release and sort of beauty news. And it's not really a thing yet. Kim Kardashian filed new trademarks for Northwest, and one of them was skincare. It's possible that Northwest may be coming out with a skincare brand. She's 9. She's 9 years old, and there's pictures here where she's already using skincare. Kids don't need skincare. Like, hello. I have acne, right? And I started getting acne when I was around 11. Maybe some kids do need skincare because I would try the stuff that doesn't really work, right? Like I tried like Clearasil and stuff like that, and it never worked for me. So maybe I could be eating my words, and maybe if you are like a kid with acne, maybe, and you know, Clearasil and stuff you get at Walgreens doesn't work for you, because it probably doesn't, you could probably, you know, look into something like this and see if it works better for you. Because, you know, I had pretty bad acne in high school, like pretty bad. And then that acne came back when I was 18 years old. And I don't really know why, but it was after a really bad breakup. So I think that maybe it was just, you know, stress. But I have definitely been more stressed since then, and the acne never came back, but I have a better routine now. So yeah, I mean, sure, maybe kids could use this, maybe. But North, you know, she looks like she has perfect skin, but that also could just be because she's 9. She's 9, and I just hope she's not insecure about her appearance in that way, you know what I mean? Like, that's all the Kardashians are. is their appearance, and that's all they do is care about their appearance. And it would really be a shame for that to trickle down onto their children, you know? All of Kim's children, all of them are gorgeous. You know, I know it's easy to tell somebody, oh, you're beautiful, so stop being insecure, and that's like not how it works. Fascinated. And if she were to come out with a skincare brand, who's the audience? Is she targeting kids? Is she targeting adults? Like, what's going on here? I know Kylie was coming out with a line for like babies skincare, but it was like actually for like babies and stuff, and I'm like, babies have the softest skin. they don't need this. I'm not gonna lie, I follow this account on TikTok. I believe the account is called Sunday the Black Lab. She's so cute, and she's just a very cute dog, and I believe she's like 10 years old. I'm pretty sure the owner uses like fur care for her. You know, she gives her a bath, and then I think that she uses a lot of products on her, and I just think it's funny. And the dog is really, you know, good about it too. She looks relaxed. You know, am I a hypocrite for thinking shit like that is cute, but using skincare for babies is like, for what? Alright, you guys, so that was everything I wanted to talk about. I don't know why I'm feeling a little tired right now. I didn't wake up early or anything, so I guess it's just been a day, you know. And if you want to know more about my day, then watch my vlog. Tell me what you guys think about these new releases. Tell me what you think about kids skincare. Tell me what you think about anything. Just any of these releases, do they stand out to you for better or for worse? Tell me what's been going on with you. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Gabrielle rizz-uh, and thank you so much for watching as well. You've been a lovely audience, and I'll talk to you later.